The Dolor Factor is sponsored by Ladera, a romantic paradise. Lime, value every moment. Illuminous, your transformation begins here. Inside Out, everything for your home, inside and out. And supported by the Cultural Development Foundation, Creativity, Culture, Community.
They say music is universal and that charity begins at home. And our guests today joined those two sayings together and created social harmony. With the charity singing group, the St. Lucia Rotary Calabashers, they've taken St. Lucia's story around the world. Now the Calabashers are concentrating on an initiative that focuses on poverty. The Dolor Factor believe we have a social responsibility to inform and entertain our viewers in typical and not too typical situations. And so we ask you to help others to sing for their supper. What do I mean? Stay with me and find out soon on the Dolor Factor. Hello, I'm Delia Dolor. Welcome to the Dolor Factor. We're here at the Ladera Resort in Southwest St. Lucia, and actually in one of the wonderful villas called Paradise Ridge. It's just amazing, it's just wonderful, and I'm sure you're going to be just thrilled to see some of the other things coming from here at Ladera Resort, a romantic paradise. You're going to be really thrilled as well of the content of tonight or today's show, depending on where you are, because of course we're not only in the 25 Caribbean islands, we're also in tri-state New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Ontario and Quebec, and we're going to be in the UK earlier, 2015, God willing. So it's exciting times for us here. Now, later on, we're going to have some really lovely musical renditions for you, and it's going to be courtesy from one of our guests tonight, of whom we have two. And our first guest I'd like to introduce is Malcolm Charles. Malcolm is the founder of the Rotary Calabashers, amongst other things. Welcome to the Dolor Factor, Malcolm.
Thank you for inviting me, and thanks for having me over. I'm very pleased to be here. Very honored to be asked to come.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of Paradise Ridge?
Well, I mean, it's a wonderful, I would recommend it. I've only been here for about an hour or so, and I think it's a fantastic location. Lovely view of the pitons and what's in front of it, and all around, a nice breeze going through. It's idyllic.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Good. Right, Rotary Calabashers, you are the founder. How did that happen?
Oh, wow. That came about, it's a long story to it, but the story really begins with when Rotary International, our world headquarters, invited the clubs around the world to submit a project back in 2004 in preparation for the centennial celebrations in 2005. Rotary in St. Lucia, we received our invitation like everybody else, the 34,000 clubs, and we looked at it and thought, well, what real impact we weren't quite sure we could make much of an impact on the global celebrations. And so we were about to put away the idea when somehow the following morning I got this little light bulb, as you say, which an old poem I'd had in my archives, written as a tribute to Rotary some years before. And I pulled it out and looked at it, and I added another verse to it to speak to the centennial. And I thought, well, I'll probably suggest that they might use this as at least we would have done something rather than saying nothing at all. And so the idea was that they probably could use that as our project, if you like. The song, the poem was named Service Above Self, which is the motto of Rotary. And the song was called Service Above Self, 100 Years. And it spoke to the journey of Rotary from the inception in 1905 right through to what was going to be in 2005 at the time. And all the main, so the 5 verses reenacting the story of Rotary, how it began. Yeah, well, we were asked to submit this project, and when I got to the point where we had these 5 verses. I invited, and I got a music put to it. I invited one of my own musician friends from way back, a chap called Malcolm Charles. He was a former musical director. We call him Toto, affectionately. And we used to play in the Quavers Orchestra many years before. And so he's an expert in music and so on, and he former band master of the Police Band. So I asked him, well, can you evaluate this thing that I've put together? Do you think it's stage ready or stage worthy? And he went through it and gave it the nod. And so to my surprise, and he said, it's a nice song, very nice song, you know. So we put the parts to it, the alto, the tenor, the bass, soprano was already written. And I started calling on Rotarians at one of the Friday luncheon meetings when we stood to sing the national anthem. I looked to see which Rotarian was probably singing in harmony the best, or singing correctly. And invited them to my home to basically do a musical experiment to see whether there was something there. Long story short, we in fact rehearsed this piece until we got it to a standard where we thought we could sing it to the Rotarians themselves, which we did at Sandals Grand that October, I think it was, and it was video recorded. And so we decided to submit the video recording to Rotary International by way of our tribute to Rotary Centennial the following year. Well, we thought that was the last we heard of it, but surprisingly, about February, March the following year, we got an invitation from the World Headquarters to come perform the song on stage in Chicago in June the following year. Well, we were in absolute near panic because we weren't quite sure how we were going to do this. We'd never done this before. In any case, we needed more songs in order to complete the repertoire because they were giving us 45 minutes on the stage. Wow. Well, we only had one song at a time, but anyway, one of those things. But we went along and we rehearsed new songs and more songs, and until we were satisfied that we had a full repertoire. And we went to Chicago and presented it. We were amazed to see that we got standing ovations from the crowd. It's a bit, I think there's about 50,000 people at the convention.
As many as that?
And well, they weren't all there, but you know,
yes,
obviously, as the delegates, number of delegates that were there. And we were told that the people really loved what we did, and we asked for encores. So we thought, well, maybe we're doing something right. But what was beautiful about all of this, we brought this all back home with us, and said, how best can we put this to use to benefit the St. Lucian population that are disadvantaged? And so we used that very repertoire to stage our first concert. And that was what began the whole series of concerts we've been having for the last 10 years.
Wow. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to treat our viewers to one of the performances, and when we come back, we're going to tell you exactly where Rotary Calabashers is now. So see you soon.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day now. Oh, happy day. Oh, when Jesus walked. When Jesus walked. Oh, when my Jesus walked. When Jesus walked. Oh, when he washed. When Jesus washed. He washed my sins away. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day now. Oh, happy day. He taught me how. Yes, he taught me to watch. Watch and pray now. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Dolor Factor here at Ladera Resort, a romantic paradise. With me I have Malcolm Charles, and we've been talking about Rotary Calabashers. They're now celebrating 10 years. Where has the time gone?
Yes, it has gone very quickly. 2004 to 2014. In fact, August just passed is exactly 10 years since the group began. That's when we began 2004, August, rehearsing and preparing for our little experiment, which turned into something which has raised thousands of dollars for various charities over the years. And hopefully we want to thank the public because we have our big show coming up, our 10th anniversary show. It's coming up on the 28th of November, Friday 28th November. And we want to invite all our friends and fans and supporters to come out again for that evening at the Gaiety in Rodney Bay, our usual venue for these concerts. This time around it's going to be on poverty reductions, which we're supporting, but our president, Chester Hinkson, will speak to that a little later. But in the meantime, I can tell you that the last 10 years have been interesting. The group has evolved from, well, some business people trying to sing a song to a different type of quality. We brought in the choreographers, we brought in various people to help us with sound and so on, and so it has grown since that beginning, that first rendition at Sandals Grand 10 years ago. But we are happy that members of the public have supported us, and we're happy to be able to come back again and hopefully do something good for another set of people.
Now I know your president will be telling us about a lot of the projects over the last 10 years, but for you, who founded it? I mean, how do you feel looking back? This is 10 years. Did you visualize, even maybe the first few times you had performances, did you visualize that it was going to grow to this extent? And were there any particular aims that you thought, let's try and do this?
Well, initially, like my background is management, and so the first thing I did was to try to put a structure in place that could replicate itself. In other words, even if I'm not around or people come and go, the positions will still be there, and just all we have to do is keep grooming people to fill those positions, and it could continue to be a life support for the charity that we do work for. So they use the very same model that we made from inception. And so that has ensured, if you like, the continuity of the group. Of course, the dedication of the members. I mean, none of the members are paid people. They're all volunteers, volunteer singers. They volunteer their time. They leave their homes on evenings and come out to rehearsals. Sometimes we even practice on weekends, depending on how far we are along in the whole production of the show. So it's been an interesting evolution, if you like, from the time we began.
I think the audience as well are very gracious, because they do know that, because a lot of the times you look on the stage and then you see people that you recognize.
Yes.
Either you know them or you recognize them and think, oh my gosh, I saw them in a business suit. And here they are, all decked out in whether it's their Motown outfits or whatever celebrations that, you know, you put together. It's a wonderful, wonderful event when you put that on.
Well, yes, we have tried, and I'd say we have sought advice from those who know. And at the moment we have Lorraine Moffat, who is our group leader now, and she has been very good at the identification of the costumes and outfits and things like that. You know, our musical director is a guy called Gregory Piper, who is very meticulous in the music and makes sure the harmonies are right and so on. And of course, we have, as I said, sound engineers and choreographer and stage managers and microphone engineers and all kinds of people doing various things behind the scenes. So,
well, I have to say, if I were a Rotary Calabasher, I would want to perform just so that I can put those wonderful outfits and the wigs and everything. They just look so alike. So
the girls are very good at that.
They're very good, and I would just do that and just mime. Let the others do the work, because I mean, they look wonderful. Their passion is there, and how can we not support something, you know, like that?
Well, I mean, like I say, every penny goes towards a charitable cause, and every year we have something to identify. The first 5 or so years, we were working on trying to fund that mobile youth clinic. Which is now going around the island giving counseling services to young people who can't come into Castries. We go to them in whatever village or town they may be, with microfinancing, with skills training, with Planned Parenthood facilities, all on that coach that goes around the island. So, you know, we're happy when you see that, you think, well, your time and effort was worth it. And that the fact that people have come out and supported the concerts, and it's very encouraging.
I'm glad you said all those things, because that's something I'd like to address with Mr. Hinkson, the things
Yes.
that the Rotary Club they do, and what the perception of the Rotary Club and why they do it and who gets the money and all those kind of things.
Yes.
I'd like to ensure that we ask him those
Yes.
questions. But in terms of the Rotary Calabashers, I know that we started in St. Lucia, we went across to Chicago. You've been all different places.
Yeah,
now
Trinidad
regionally, Trinidad. Where
on
else have
cruise
you
ships.
been?
Trinidad and well, mainly Chicago, Trinidad, on a couple of cruise ships and so on, and locally around the hotel circuit. Apart from Gaety, then we played in Soufrière and Vieux-Fort, and it's all about charity. Just raising money for every penny goes back into the charity fund.
And I know regionally there's some new developments there.
Yes, the regional one is that they seem to have now, I think it happened in Australia this year in July, when they nominated me, elected me to be the vice chairman for the Caribbean.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. The idea is to promote this same concept throughout the region, so that the Rotarian musicians throughout the region. It's the International Fellowship of Rotarian Musicians, they call it, IFRM. And there are sort of pockets of musicians in Rotary throughout the region, from the Bahamas through to Suriname. But they just need to be brought together and identified, and to identify projects in their own areas, in their own territories. And how can we tackle the issues and needs of the region, either individually or collectively. So this is where the role that I'm playing now is meant to. So I've been in touch with all the musicians. I have a printout from the headquarters as to who plays what where, and I'm hoping one day to have all of them together to do something for some particular cause. By coming together, you have all kinds of instrumentalists and singers and dancers, all Rotarians, but they get into the act and and try to help a good cause.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, how are you going to do this? Because it's just, so, it's a big scope, there's a big area that you're dealing with here.
Well, to be honest, when they first asked me if I would accept that nomination, I asked the same question. I said, well, we're unlike, say, the UK. I know you told me there's a vice chairman for UK, there's one for the US, there's one for Canada. I said, but they can always drive across their borders. Here, we've got to fly, we've got to go by a boat. How do we get them together?
Yes.
They said, well, if the others can do it, you can do it. So I accepted it on that grounds.
So you have to leave us shortly. Is there anything else that you would like to let our viewers know?
Well, I think I just want to say thanks to all the patrons over the years, and thanks in particular to the members of the group, who I say are all volunteers. And they come out and they sacrifice, and we have a lot of fun doing it as well. I mean, the sacrifices mean leaving your family at night, as I said earlier. But it's a wonderful group of volunteers, and they know that they're doing these things for a cause that is helping other people who are disadvantaged, which is what Rotary is about: service above self, helping others beyond yourself, and that's what we try to do.
Well, Malcolm, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you performing, as you always do, very soon. And thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks for your support.
When we come back, we have the president of the St. Lucia Rotary, Mr. Chester Hinkson, and he'll be giving us some more information, so stay with us.
We don't have no snow and no mistletoe. Christmas morning time and we got to go. With soca and sunshine, we go have a fine time. Come on everyone, enjoy Christmas Caribbean style. Christmas, we go have a real nice Christmas. Christmas, we go have a Merry Christmas. Christmas, we go have a sunshine Christmas. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Christmas, we go have a real nice Christmas. Christmas, we go have a Merry Christmas.
Hello, this is the Dolor Factor and I'm here at Ladera Resort with a new guest, a guest I've always wanted to have sit next to me, and he knows that. I'm talking about Chester Hinkson, who is the president of the St. Lucia Rotary Club. Now I say it that way, but I actually do want some clarification about the name, what you do, and also you wear so many hats. How you do it, I don't know. So we've got a lot to go through this segment. So welcome, Chester, to the Dolor Factor.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you very much.
I don't know where you want to start because there's so many questions I've thrown at you at one time. So tell us, what is your role first, Rotary?
First of all, as you rightfully said, I wear many hats. Mm-hmm. They all fit, by the way.
Oh, I've seen that.
The reason for that is because I don't take on more than I can chew. Mm-hmm. I could be wearing more, but I decline certain invitations to be on other boards, to be on what have you, because if you're going to do something, you do it to the best of your ability. I think that in this world, every clock, every watch tells you there are 24 hours in a day. Mm-hmm. The day won't have 25 hours for President Obama, it won't have it for Pope Francis, and it won't have it for the Dolor Factor, nor will it have it for me. Mm-hmm. So I manage my time. That's why I allocated today specifically for this, despite other requests to do other things that needed attention.
I feel very honored. Thank you.
Okay. With respect to Rotary, as you just inquired, I am the president of Rotary, by the way. As a matter of fact, this almost happened, for want of a word or phrase, by default, because our president really was supposed to have been Gloria Williams, who was transferred to Grenada. So we had to find a president hurriedly. That's how I ended up as president. with about, let me put it this way, a few hours notice.
Wow.
Right. So that's how it happened.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now you wanted to know about Rotary and the role of what we do and what have you. Rotary is an international organization, as you're probably aware. We belong to the Rotary Club of St. Lucia. Mm-hmm. We have 3 clubs in St. Lucia. The Rotary Club of St. Lucia, there's a Rotary Club of Grosley, and the Rotary Club of Beaufort in the south. Each has its own president. Ours is the largest, the one in Castries. Mm-hmm. And we meet at Sanders Halcyon every Friday for our weekly meetings.
You meet as often as that?
Every Friday.
Okay.
Now, Rotary is represented with about, I would say, 34,000, over 1 million members, sorry. Gathered all over the world. Mm-hmm. And we have about 34,000 clubs, St. Lucia included, of course, where we have 3. Mm-hmm. Incidentally, we've tried to form a club in Soufrière, but that was part of Malcolm's initiative, incidentally. Mm-hmm. But that hasn't been able to get off the ground. Probably what we could do is link Beaufort and Soufrière and have one club, or do Beaufort, Soufrière, and Labrie. Mm-hmm. Rotary does a lot of charity work. Internationally, the project that Rotary is most known for is the eradication of polio worldwide. Funds that have been allocated range in excess of $1 million to $1.5 billion, sorry.
Amazing, amazing.
The only countries where polio is still very prevalent is Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the countries in that part of the world, because of the fact that the people who risk their lives to reach those that are afflicted are subject to being murdered. To be very literal, you're going to be killed. It's only recently that those that are engaged in the wars in that part of the world have understood the importance of what the eradication of polio is all about. And they allow the volunteers to come in and do their work. In some areas, they can't go in there, they won't allow them in. They let the people die. On the local scene, we have been involved in a number of initiatives and projects. Education, health. I'm sure you were told by Malcolm about the Rotary bus, which goes all around this island and provides counseling, provides medical attention. The bus is housed with professionals And when the bus goes into an area, we cater for probably for about maybe expecting 20 to 30 people. And 200 to 300 people show up. And they start getting there, they know the bus will be coming to a certain area from 4 o'clock in the morning. So there's lots of stuff that is being done. My main initiative as president for my year 2014 to 2015 is poverty reduction, which probably we can talk about later.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to discussing that with you because when we think of poverty, some people say that there are different levels of poverty. Some people say poverty is poverty. I'd be interested to find out why you felt you had to look at poverty and how we in St. Lucia can help. But also, I am also looking forward to showing everyone how you can really get down to business, not just as the president of the Rotary, but also with your connections with the Rotary Calabashers. You're quite a star there too. And I want everyone to enjoy this performance by Chester. Every time I see it, I get up and I dance and sing with him. And feel free to do that too. So when we come back, we're going to talk a bit more about the new initiative and about Calabashers and the event that's coming up soon. So don't go away.
Throughout the lonely night, I love you, baby. Trust in me when I say, oh, pretty baby, don't bring me down, I pray, oh, pretty baby. Now that I found you, stay and let me love you, baby. Let me love you. You're just too good to be true. Take my eyes off of you. You feel like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You're just too good to be true. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. You're just too good to be true.
But wasn't that something else? That performance, of course, was with Chester Hinkson and his brother, Boo Hinkson. Of course, Boo, very well known internationally. He's such a true St. Lucian in every sense of the word. How did the two of you come together to perform that? Whose idea was it?
That one was mine. Mm-hmm. And I asked, because in the old days, we used to have the band called the True Tones, as you probably are aware.
Of course, yes.
And I was part of the group. I was a performer, and I was also the manager of the group. But I had to exit when I got transferred in my substantive job to the Bahamas. And that kept me out of music for a number of years. And when I came back, strange enough, Malcolm Charles asked me to join Calabashers. And he did that at a graveside. We were at a funeral. I said, Malcolm, aren't you singing the people's hymns?
Yes.
What are you talking to me about Calabashers?
Yeah, yeah.
But we were both there singing away at that graveside. He says, you got to come on board, man. We'd like you to come and join our bass group. He wouldn't give up. So
that's Malcolm.
Eventually,
Yes.
I did join, and I have no regrets up to this date. But with respect to your question about how did Boo and I get to that, I told Boo I was going to do Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, because we used to do that many moons ago. Everybody would be on the floor. I told him I'd like him to rearrange it for me. to bring it into more modern style, and he did an absolutely
course.
wonderful job with that.
Yes.
And when we did it that night, I asked, in addition to me just doing that performance, would you come on stage and do it with me?
Yes.
And he agreed to do that, and that's where that and how that happened.
That's
He
wonderful.
did absolutely beautiful guitar solo on that, and it went down well with the audience.
Yep, and I'm sure as a family, when you sit down, everyone can see that and have wonderful memories. That's wonderful.
Oh yes, I must say there that, you know, Bo, in all his humility, he doesn't like to you to sing praises about him. That's how he
There
is.
he is. Yeah.
But he's got a God-given talent.
Oh yes, that he has.
The good thing is that he shares it.
Yes, he's just a wonderful guy. But let's go back to where we're at in terms of, you know, Rotary Calabashers. You, for the last few years, in terms of the Rotary Calabashers, at least you're now celebrating 10 years. What has happened between then and now with the Rotary Calabashers, the whole ideal of it?
Well, I've seen an evolution of talent. I've seen an evolution of creativity, of innovation. When I joined Rotary Calabashers probably 5 years ago or 6 years, I wasn't there from the origin. So I'm not part of the Chicago group and all that stuff. I've seen members come and members go. Some have traveled, some have gone to work overseas. But those that have stayed have been so committed. And you know, it's all in keeping with Rotary's motto. And not everybody in the group is a Rotarian. The group is called Rotary Calabashers. But we have some members there that are non-Rotarians, like Mallet Edwards, known as Hammer.
Yes, another wonderful performer.
And we have a number of the others there. We have a young man named Kurt, who joined us last year. He's a beautiful voice.
Yes.
We have Sharon, and not all the names come to mind now. We have an ex-Rotarian who is in Rotary, in the Calabashers, Rotary Calabashers, and that's John Douglas. And the list goes on.
Yes.
But everybody has give of his and her time, effort, to ensure that when we put the show on, it is a good show. We criticize each other constructively and objectively. We work together as a team. We have a good musical director who puts his heart and soul into this. The show is normally held the last week in November or early December. And we start rehearsing from July. People don't realize that we are normal workers like yourself. We go to work and come back home at 5, 6, 6:30 and have to be at rehearsal at 7:30. We leave there at 10, sometimes 11, depending on how close it is to the concert. Nobody gets 1 penny for this. We do it because we want to help and we want to entertain. We love what we do. But every penny that we generate from this concert goes to some form of charity. And each year there's a different charity we may choose.
So tell us about some of the things that you have done in terms of, I know that you had the bus that Malcolm touched on earlier.
There's the bus. There was a big tree planting exercise that was done. We had people from the United States and all over, not just local Rotarians. As I tell you, Rotary is international. And we have volunteers who come into this country to give up their time and their effort to help others who are marginalized and who are in need.
But if Rotary helps so much, why is there this thing about the Rotary's bourgeoisie or Rotary just select people who are on it? I mean, I've heard it from when I was younger, and sometimes I still hear little, well, we can't afford to be part of that, or we haven't been asked to be part of that.
Because there's a complete misconception of Rotary. First of all, when you're in Rotary, you must be a disciplined person. That's number one. You have to give of your time and your effort and your money too. And that's important. That's why we call it service above self. When we go to our lunches on a Friday, we have to pay from our pockets. Some people may be fortunate enough because they belong to an organization that wants them to be involved in these types of initiatives and would finance their involvement in Rotary. But at the end of the day, one way or the other, you have to put your hand in your pocket to help. This perception of Rotary as this club of bourgeois and all that, I don't consider myself a bourgeois. Come on. I consider myself as a normal St. Lucian who cares about the other person who needs some form of help. And that's what Rotary does, and that's what you are taught in Rotary. Help others who are in need. This perception of we meet on a Friday having caviar and scotch and champagne is not true. You have to be somebody. We like to have professionals because of the fact that there are different talents from each profession. And when I say talent, I'm not referring to music. The knowledge that you bring to the table. So we can send you out to, if you're in finance, to go and give a talk somewhere. We can send you out because you have leadership skills to go and talk to another group of professionals and non-professionals. This year, we had a boot camp, for want of a phrase, for some young kids, and we had it in 2 phases. Ages, I think, was about 8 to 13 and 14 to about 19. We had it at the SDA school, and these kids have to stay there and sleep over and integrate. And these are, for want of a word, troubled kids. And you can see from their behavior that they are troubled kids. But when you walk in there, if you see them under supervision, you will never get this impression. Normal, good-looking, well-mannered kids when you speak to them. But as long as they're not supervised, all hell breaks loose. And we had professionals to come and address them. And we did that in collaboration with the police. And that went down so well that these kids didn't want to go home. They didn't want to leave the camp. And on top of that, you're talking about kids that come from different areas where they are in need. So they get 3 nice meals a day. They have a comfortable place to sleep. They have games night for them, and they take them for a 1-day tour. And they might take them to a hotel or something. So these kids...
Thanks for that, Justin. When we come back, I want to add something. But for now, make sure you stay here with the Dolor Factor.
Mr. Bojangles. Mr. Bojangles. Mr. Bojangles.
Welcome back to the Dolor Factor. I mentioned, Chester, that there was one thing I wanted to thank the Rotary Club for. I actually went to one of those lunches and you honoured a media colleague of mine, Andrew Von Noel. And I was just, it was wonderful because he passed away not too long after that, and I felt that he did not get the recognition that he deserved from the media fraternity. I remember him as a little girl when I was 11, the first person I spoke to at RSL, and then he asked me to accompany him when the Rotary Club honoured him. So I want to say thank you so much to the club members for that. He really loved it. And Dr. Asmina Long, she was instrumental in, letting me know what was going to be happening and so on. So thank you so much for that. But as your role as the president, it was your duty to come up with something for the Rotary Club to do. You came up with the Poverty Initiative. What is this all about and why? Why did you come up with this?
Well, now you're touching a very sensitive subject. What really drove me to adopt that as my initiative for my year as the Rotary president, I'll give you a personal experience I had. I was driving home from work one afternoon about 6:45. I approached the stoplight in front of Valmont, which is next to the government printry. And I saw a young man, as I see every day, but that particular day, that experience touched me. He was in the garbage bin looking for something. Put his hand down, very casually. Maybe didn't find what he wanted. He pulled it out. Then he put both arms in, with a little more aggression this time. And within about 15 seconds, he just pulled them out very hurriedly. And I saw 2 rats jump out of that garbage bin. That was the day I said to myself, not in my country. I lived in a poverty-stricken country. I lived in Haiti for 15 years. I've been to India. I have seen poverty. But I never expected to see this in St. Lucia. You walk all over St. Lucia now. You go to Soufrière, you go to Ancillary, you go to Canaries, you go to Grosile, you walk in the streets of Castries, and beggars are all over the place and people eating from garbage bins. Some people probably think that, oh, you remedy that privately. No, you have to speak about it openly, because this is not about those people only. It is about St. Lucia and St. Lucians. There are too many people sleeping in the commercial sector, in front of the post office, in the lobbies of the bank, in front of the banks. That's their home. We have to do something about that. But when it comes to people not having a meal, I have a serious problem with that. And I'm not doing it only through talking. I'm doing it through action.
How? What kind of action? Knowing you, I'm expecting something different.
So I have made this my main thrust for my 2014-2015. I took the matter to the club at my induction, for want of a word, as president. I said, this is what I would like to do. We have other things that we're doing, but this is where my interest lies, and I need your support in this. Let us raise some money amongst ourselves. And if we can raise some money, then we ask the club to match whatever we can raise. And it was well received. We want to take that one step further. We want to bring the government through the Ministry of Social Transformation, Local Government and Community Empowerment on board. Because you see, we can't depend on government alone to solve these types of problems. They don't have the resources. They don't have the manpower. Maybe, I know it's a priority matter for them. I know that for a fact, because I had the Minister of Social Transformation and Social and Community Empowerment as our guest speaker 3 weeks ago. And he brought to light the level of poverty in St. Lucia. It would sadden you. Some Rotarians were speechless. Some cried. Some couldn't finish their lunch. This problem is serious, and we intend to get St. Lucians more aware so that everybody can be on board.
When and how will you be able to let us know how the public can help?
Well, interesting. I'm happy you asked this, because we have had meetings. Malcolm and I rather had a meeting with one of the, I've forgotten her title, but a senior person whose job at the ministry is to find out what can be done to reduce poverty in St. Lucia. Now, most people tell you about alleviation of poverty. You can't alleviate poverty. Poverty has been there since biblical times. The great Messiah, Jesus, passed through. He couldn't solve the poverty problem. Who am I? But guess what? All of us together can make a difference. If all of us say to ourselves, yes, I'm on board. So I want you on board too.
You tell me how you would like me to help. How would you like us to help?
Okay, first of all, we need more publicity. That's number one. We need our PRO uplifted. So every little thing that we do or we attempt to do towards this initiative, that we can get it in the eyes of the public, let them know. So maybe on your part, maybe you mightn't give us a check for $1,000, but you'll say, listen, I will come and cover this for you free.
Okay.
All these little things matter.
Well, let's talk. Let's see what we can do to help. I wish we had more time because you just started to hit the... But I'm sure somewhere along the line we will meet again and we will see whatever we can do to help you.
And our objective is to try and raise as much money as possible to put in with what we have already collected, to start some type of initiative, maybe in collaboration with the ministry, but one with some form of sustainability. We can't build a building. We don't have money for that.
Yes.
But we might be able to do a sustainable soup kitchen or something.
Okay, and for any information on that, if you want to get in touch, you know how to contact us on the show, and I will definitely pass all the information to Chester. Chester, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to meeting you shortly again soon.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for your support, or your promised support, that is.
Well, you know, I'm going to follow through. Support the St. Lucia Rotary Calabashers Poverty Reduction Initiative when you buy tickets. You know the ticket is an invitation for you to attend a night of fun and enjoyment. Poverty is a very serious matter, so please, please, please help when you can. Why? Because I asked you to. On behalf of my guests, Malcolm Charles, Chester Hinkson, the Dolor Factor and the Choice TV teams, I'm Delia Dolor. Goodbye. God bless.